Hey guys, Sean here, and today I'm doing a new movie review, and this review will be on the whole, the whole Fast and the Furious franchise as a whole. The series has been going on for the last 12 years, I think, and it's still going strong with one more movie to go. But before I review the new one, Fast and Furious 6, I'm gonna start all the way back at the beginning and review them all in release order. So, starting with the first movie, The Fast and the Furious. This was released back in 2001, directed by Rob Conan, who's famous for directing, I think Triple X and The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. But this movie, I did not see this one in theaters. I actually did not get into the franchise until around the time Tokyo Drift came out. I did not enter the franchise until 2006. I entered late, so I only missed the first two movies. But it stars Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster, Michelle Rodriguez, Matt Schultz, I think is how you pronounce his last name, and Ted Levine and Johnny Strong. This movie I thought was a very good movie. It's basically about a guy who's basically on the run from the police because he has a criminal record for nearly beating a man to death with a socket wrench, among other stuff. But the main character of this movie is an undercover detective named Brian O'Connor, who is played by Paul Walker. The guy I just mentioned a second ago was the other main character, Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel. But as for Brian, he's an undercover detective, basically meant to go undercover and investigate Dom, because the police think Dom is behind all these hijackings and stolen merchandise and everything. So Brian is essentially sent in and ends up being Dom's friend and dating Dom's sister, who Vince, a friend of Dom's and sort of like his brother, does not like, because he likes the girl. But when you see Fast Five, I think they're at a good place. Brian and Vince are at a good place. But I'll get to Fast Five later. But at the end of this movie, Dom finds that Brian's a cop, and basically Brian lets Dom go. So now, second movie basically picks up after the first, with Brian still having to deal with the fact that he let Dom go, and he's pretty cool with that one, I think. It's just the police are not cool with that. But in this one, Brian is in Miami, Florida, where he's winning every street race he enters, and the police basically need his help to bring down, I think, a drug lord, or something, named Carter Verone, played by Cole Hauser, I think his name was. I don't know the guy's name, but yeah, Paul Walker does come back in this one. Vin Diesel, Jordana Brewster, Michelle Rodriguez, and Matt Schultz, they don't come back. They do not reprise their roles in this one. I don't know if it was because the studio didn't need them or the studio wouldn't pay them enough. Most likely, probably the studio didn't need them. But, however, Dom is mentioned in this movie when they mention that Brian let his man go in L.A. And if you've seen the first movie, you automatically know it's Dom right off the bat. But in this one, basically, Brian hooks up with an old friend, Roman Pierce, who... Alright, basically, here's the plot. Brian is asked by the cops, even though Brian is a retired cop at this time, he is asked by the cops to take down this person, Carter Verone. And Brian said he has to infiltrate Carter Verone organization as a street racer. And Brian says he will only do it if he's allowed to pick his partner. And he picks his old friend, Roman Pierce, who is under house arrest for I don't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. But he's not allowed to go within 100 miles, past 100 miles of his home. That's why when he participates in, like, race car derbies or whatever you call it, he parks so close. He parks close to the derby, is because he's not supposed to go more than 100 feet from his home. So yeah, and there's also Eva Mendes is in this. She plays one of the cops who also has infiltrated Veron's organization. I guess you'd say his organization or his life, whatever. And then you have another friend of Brian's named Tej Parker. I can never pronounce his name in the movie. He's spelled T-E-G or T-A-G, T-E-G-A, but I can never pronounce it. I think it's Tej or something. But Tej Parker, played by Ludacris. And his freaking hair is huge, man. He got huge hair. I still wonder how he took care of that hair. So like when they brought him back in Fast 5, he shaved it all. I gotta stop talking about Fast 5 right now. But now I'm just gonna give the first 5 movies like a quick synopsis, because I want to get to the 6th one. So Tokyo Drift, the 3rd installment of the franchise, without Vin Diesel, without Paul Walker. Now the reason for why Vin and Paul are not in the movie is because I think the studio wanted the movie out as soon as possible, within 3 years. And they couldn't get Paul Walker to do the movie for some stupid reason. I don't know if it's because he wanted more money, I don't know if it's because he wanted more money, or the scheduling conflict, or something. But they could not get Paul Walker to come back. So he did not do it. So they had to write a new script, new characters, and then slapped in the title of Fast and the Furious. So it was called Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. So this movie's about a kid who always gets in trouble with the cops and has to keep moving around to avoid them. So this time, he is sent to live in Tokyo with his father, who was stationed there in the military. And he has only two choices. Either go live with his daddy in Tokyo, or go to prison for the rest of his life. So he goes to live with his father in Tokyo and learns from... And this main character's name is Sean Boswell, played by Lucas Black, who I hope they bring back in the 7th movie that's coming out next year. And he meets a kid named Twinkie, not to be confused with the food. I think that's how he got his name, though, because he loved to eat Twinkies. I don't know. But either he's just good with engines. Oh, excuse me. But Twink is played by Bow Wow, Lil Bow Wow. Or he's Bow Wow now. I don't know. But he learns from him and a guy named Han, played by Hung Kang or something. I don't remember his name. About drifting. There's this new thing called drifting. And they try to teach him how to drift. And he ends up and Sean ends up falling with this girl named Mila, played by, I think, Nathalie Kelly. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But he gets in trouble with this guy, Takashi, also known as DK, Drift King. And by the end of the movie, he and DK race down a mountain that only DK can get down completely. And however, Sean beats him. Sean's the first one to get down that mountain properly, other than DK. And I said earlier, Vin Diesel was not in this movie. And technically he's not. But at the end of the movie, after Han kicks the bucket, Twink walks up and says, Yo, Sean! And check this out, man. This dude over here wants to race a new DK. And Sean's like, not tonight, Twink. And Twink's like, but I bet he's been here. I heard he's been baiting everybody around Asia too. And that's when Sean says, not tonight, Twinkie. And Twink says, he said he knew Han. Said Han was family. And that's when Sean decided to race him. And when he pulls up to the car, guess who we see? Vin Diesel himself. I swear, I bet everyone in the theater cheered at that point when Dom showed up. I bet everyone cheered in the theater when Dom showed up at the end of the movie. I mean, I would have if I saw it in theaters. I saw it in the drive-in, so I I didn't hear much cheering at the drive-in. But I think if I had seen it in a regular theater, I would have probably cheered too. But yeah. Because anyway, Sean and Dom race. I don't know who wins because they end the movie there, but I hope that if 7 is a sequel to Tokyo Drift, they do show the race, or at least mention who wins. But now on to the fourth one, Fast and Furious, which takes place before Tokyo Drift. Because Han is in it. At the beginning, basically... Oh, and Letty's back. Dom is back. Pretty much everybody from the first one's back, except for Vince. Because Vince doesn't appear until Fast 5, which I don't know why. And also I heard that Rome was supposed to be in this one. Tyrese was supposed to be in this one, but something happened. I think a scheduling conflict or something. Or just a rumor or something. I don't know. If anything, I think it was just a scheduling conflict with Transformers. But, the beginning of this movie, basically the premise of this movie is Letty dies. And Dom basically infiltrates this drug cartel to get his revenge. That's pretty much the premise right there. Because Dom has been on the run from police for years. And Letty went to Brian, who has become an FBI agent since the second movie, and arranged for a way that if she helped bring down Arturo Braga, who's this drug lord, I guess, who's been running drugs between Mexico and the U.S. across the border, that if she can help bring down Arturo Braga, that the police have to let Dom walk. But Letty ends up getting killed in the process, and so Brian has this on his shoulders because he's the one that sent her in. And also there's a fight between Dom and Brian where because Dom is pissed that he was not informed that Brian ran Letty, I guess you'd say. That's how I said that. But this movie I thought was really good. I saw it in the theater with my brother and my nephew. At the end of the movie, the guy who killed Letty is killed by Dom. Dom gets his revenge. And Brian pretty much makes the same deal with the cops that Letty made. That if Dom helps bag Braga, like take him down, the police let him walk. This is what pissed me off the most, is they arrested Braga, yet the police still sentenced Dom to 25 years to life in jail. I was like, what the fuck? Did you guys have your fingers crossed behind your back or something? But at the end of the movie, Brian and Mia lead an orchestration to break Dom off his prison bus, which I thought was really cool. Because Brian is driving Dom's Charger, which I thought was really cool. That Brian, other than Dom, Brian is the only other person to drive that Charger. Oh, other than Dom's father, but I'm talking about in the terms of the movie, because we never see Dom meet and their father together. But like I said, in terms of the movie, Brian is the only one to drive that Charger. And I think I'm going into 20 minutes here. Now on to Fast 5. Basically, it picks up after the fourth one where they're now in Rio. They catch up with Vince, and they steal cars. And there's this job. They steal cars. They steal seized cars that cops have seized. And speaking of cop, Brian is no longer a cop. Brian has switched sides completely. And I think this is the place he should have been the whole time. Him and Mia are back together, which I thought was cool. Basically, the plan in this one is to bring characters from every film that's been established. 1, 2, 3, 4. And pull an Avengers, like you say. Bring them all together, and they do one job together. Basically, they bring Vince back from the first movie, Tez and Rome back from the second, Han from the third, even though he was in the fourth, he didn't have a big part in that one, and then Giselle in the 2-4, and Tigo and Leo, I think. Tigo and Santos from the fourth one. I don't remember their names. But they all come together to rob the man who owns Rio. They steal $100 million from this guy, from Herman Reyes. Also, they're being hunted by The Rock, by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who plays Luke Hobbs, a member, the leader of an elite task force by the United States DSS, diplomatic social security or diplomatic security services. I don't know how you pronounce that one. I don't know how the other one. But basically, in the end of the movie, like I said, I'm only giving quick parts of these ones. By the end of the movie, they get the money and buy their freedom. And there was something at the end of this movie, which, if you guys seen this, and I'm sure everybody has who's seen Fast and Furious films, if you haven't, God, you're stupid for not seeing this one. But Monica Fuentes from the second movie, who was played by Eva Mendes, comes back to reprise her role for a second time, and the second last time, I think, and informs Hobbs that morning in Berlin, a team of... Now, this completely set up the sixth movie. That a team of drivers hijacked a military convoy and then showed a picture of Letty in the file. Now, that completely set up the sixth one. So that was cool. Now, to the sixth one, finally. Fast and Furious 6, also known as Fast 6, however you want to look at it. This movie picks up from Fast 5. They're all living large, having fun, enjoying their wealth. When Hobbs comes to Dom and says, I need your help. I've been chasing these people across 4 continents and 12 countries. I need your help, Dom. I need your team. Because he cannot catch these people alone. And the new villain is Owen Shaw, played by Luke Evans, who will be in the new Hobbit movie this coming December. And Letty is running with Hobbs now, or not Hobbs, but is running with Shaw now, because she had amnesia. Spoiler. She's not dead. She suffered amnesia. She somehow survived. And they do show it. I thought that was a nice touch. Because if they did not show that, I was going to be pissed. What they did. I thought this movie was the best in the series so far. Some people probably still say Fast 5 is the best, but I say this one's the best. And I like this one, how it tied it back to the first movie somehow. Parts of it tied to the first movie because the end of the movie, and some of it tied back to Tokyo Drift, which I thought was cool. Because that's basically the objective here, is to tie it back to Tokyo Drift. In the end of the movie, they do... there's this part with Letty and Dom. They street race in London, I think, around Piccadilly Circus, I think it's called. I don't really remember that part. I remember Dom tries to get Letty to remember stuff, like the whole, like when in the fourth one, when Letty told him, ride or die. You remember that? And then Dom says, ride or die, remember? And then Letty looks over like a shot with a face of disturbedness or something. But I thought this movie was really good. The ending, I think you guys can pretty much guess the ending, that they get their pardons. But there is something at the end of the movie, like at the mid-credits. I'm sure not everyone's seen this movie. So, you know what? I do spoilers in my videos, so screw it. Han's death was not an accident in Tokyo Drift. That was a planned death. And the person who killed him was, wait for it, Jason Statham. Yes, the guy who is rumored to play the villain in this movie is the one who plays the brother of the villain in this movie, and the one who kills Han. All because he wants revenge on Dom for killing Owen Shaw. So this movie, that ending completely set up the second movie, which will not be directed by Justin Lin, unlike the past 4 movies were. It's going to be directed by the guy who directed the first Saw and Insidious, James Wan. So I hope James Wan does a very good job of this movie. He says he's a fan of the franchise. So I hope he doesn't throw his old horror style into this film. And like I said earlier, I think I said this earlier, I do hope they bring Sean Boswell back if they're trying to make this a sequel to Tokyo Drift. So I do hope they bring Sean back, have him roll with Dom and Brian to take down Ian Shaw. That would be very cool for me. I just love this franchise. I give it a perfect 10 out of 10. And this is actually, outside of comic book movies, this is one of my favorite franchises ever. So that's all for me. I'm gonna say good day now because I'm already probably going like a half hour or something. So I'm gonna say good day, goodbye, and have fun.